Hey there, it's your gamer friend Peadee. We are back in my solo Minecraft LP world. The world CD is Peadee Games, just like my channel name and my Twitter handle. So, I'm continuing to make this tunnel over to my roads so we can travel more easily to where the witch hut is and where it will be a witch farm eventually. I'm going to use Doc M's witch farm style. You can look up that video if you're interested. Oh my gosh, this is a long tunnel. I better put a torch down just in case. I mean, they're not going to spawn behind me because I'm 40 blocks in, but you never know. You know, walk away for a second and then next thing you know there's a creeper in here. Although a creeper would probably help mine out a little bit. You know what I mean. Anyway, so this is going to be sort of a building episode, or, well, a grunt work episode. So I thought I would tell us one of my crazier stories about when I first moved to Mexico. I moved to a tourist town in the center of Mexico, and it was pretty famous, or it is pretty famous, and there's lots of tourists that come there, and they study Spanish, or they, just kind of hang out in Mexico or whatever. But there's been tourists. I'm sorry, I gotta clear my throat. Sorry about that. Feel better now. There's been, oh my goodness. There we go. There's been tourists coming there for so long that, the community is pretty much used to tourists. There's lots of long-term tourists there and things like that. So, it's not unusual to see Americans. In some parts of Mexico, it's kind of, especially in rural communities and stuff like that, they may have never seen, an American outside of television, and so it's kind of funny, like, you go to a rural community and, like, all the kids will, like, run over and stare at you and things like that, because it's kind of like being like a movie star. I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, they're not staring at you in a hostile way. They're just like, wow, an American. I mean, it's crazy. And it doesn't hurt if you're fairly good looking or if you speak Spanish a little bit. You get a lot of attention from lovely young ladies and just people in general. So it can be a lot of fun, but that's neither here nor there. There was this bar that it was a cantina, and in Mexico, cantinas can be kind of shady. A lot of times there's a lot of there can be pretty rough, just like in the movies. But in this tourist town, there was a place that was in a location that was so easily accessible to tourists that even though it was a cantina, it pretty much had it was used to having foreigners, and they were very nice and tolerant, or whatever you want to say. Because there's some places where like, well, that's a whole different story. You're not always welcomed with open arms. Let's put it that way. And so I was in this bar, and I had run into, not a friend, but an acquaintance, someone that I had seen a couple times around the town. He was an American as well. He was kind of on a, he was a little bit younger than me, and he was kind of on a, I guess you would say, like a bender. He was kind of, experimenting with alcoholism, he would say. Um, he drank a lot, and he he was an okay guy, but he just did a lot of stuff that I wasn't into. Let's just put it that way. Experimenting with uh, Mexico's very liberal prescription drug laws and things like that. So he was always kind of on something, and but he was okay, because I just went out to have a drink pretty much, and so we went out. I don't remember if we made plans to go out or if we ran into each other and then just started kind of pub crawling together. Probably the latter. But he and I were kind of just wandering around. We end up in this cantina that was like the roughest place that a tourist could safely go into, if that makes sense. And so we're there for a while, and we were drinking, and this girl starts talking to us, and she kind of, she was in the bar, and it looks like she was very comfortable there, and she was Mexican, obviously, and she addressed the bartender by name, so it was obvious that she was a regular or whatever. And she started flirting with this guy, and I don't remember his real name, so I'm just gonna randomly call him Stuart, just for the sake of this story. So this guy Stuart, he's like talking to this girl, and she's getting kind of cuddly with him, if you want to say it that way, and and I was like, okay, whatever, she likes him, lots of, and he was a good looking guy too, and lots of girls like Americans, because they're exotic or whatever, or if you have blue eyes or something like that, you're pretty much golden, and no matter what else you look like, if you have blue eyes, you'll get a lot of attention from girls in Mexico, in general. But I wish I had made this a little bit over here, but I didn't. Here, let's go up here and put some lights up. So this girl is continuing to pay attention, and she's getting more and more flirty or handsy or whatever you want to say, and I was like, okay, and sort of in my mind I was like, well, maybe she really likes him, or maybe she's a working girl, but I'm not gonna judge anyone or whatever, and and he was obviously having a fun time, and he had kind of groped her a bit, and she had groped him a bit, and things like that. And we bought a lot of drinks. I mean, I'm not a heavy drinker, but even I had maybe in 2.5 or 3 hours, I had 6 or 8 drinks, or beers or whatever. And that's a fair amount for me, because I'm not it's not that I can't drink or whatever. I just, I'm okay. You know what I mean? I'll have 2 beers during an hour, and that'll be fine. I'll kind of just nurse it along, and I'm one of those guys. If you're a bartender or something like that, I'm one of those guys that just, that takes up bar space basically. Because I'm not a super duper partier or whatever. But yeah, so he, he's continuing to have fun with her, and she's continuing to have fun with him, and, it seems okay. I think we're going to ride back home and get some more supplies so we can continue building our bridge. So let's go find a horse. So, oh, wait, we didn't bring the horse this time, did we? That's why I brought the bed, you idiot. Oh, there's a horse. Hi. Well, okay, let's take a nap. Oh shucks, I have the bed right here, you dummy. Alright. Oh. So, he's continuing to get more and more handsy with her. She's getting more and more handsy with him, and, and I was just like, okay, and, he, she goes to the bathroom once, and he's like, dude, I think, you know, this girl's willing to go home with me. And I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised, but I wonder, she's expecting some sort of monetary compensation for this activity. And his basic attitude was like, at that point he didn't care. He was pretty drunk, or whatever, drunk and whatever. And so like I said, I'm not here to judge anyone or anything. So I was like, whatever. And so we had a couple more drinks, and hello, what are you doing way over here? That's crazy. Why don't you go into the blacksmith shop for once, you jerk? I mean, friend. Let's see. So he continues to have a good time, and it kind of looks like it's leading to an obvious conclusion. And I go to the bathroom myself, and when I'm out of, it was a pretty dim bar, let me just put it that way, but there was a really bright light in the bathroom area, and as I was walking out of the men's room door, the women's room was right adjacent to it, and she was walking in, and I got a really good glimpse at her in like the bright light, right? And I was like, huh. Oh look, there's my lead right there. And I was like, hey Stuart, are you 100% sure that that's a girl? I mean, like, and he's like, oh yeah, I felt, her boobs and stuff. Yeah, she's a girl. And I was like, well, I mean, they have pills that, can make people get boobs even if they're not like genetically predisposed to have boobs. And he was pretty sure that it was a girl. So and I'm like, I'm not one to judge. I'm pretty liberal and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, either he's sure or he doesn't care, and either way, it's not really any of my business. As a friend, I kind of did my duty, and I pointed out my suspicion to him. I'm gonna get rid of this wooden block so I can pick up. Well, I'm not gonna get rid of that wooden block apparently. So I can pick up the bed, so we can move on to the next area. Where are you? Okay. So she comes out of the bathroom, and I'm looking at her a little bit more closely, and I notice her hands kind of look manly-ish, and she was short, but like 5'3" or 4, but the average height in Mexico isn't like the average height in the U.S. So it's not surprising to see a male that would be 5'3" or 5'4". Oh my gosh, of course, get out of there. Oh, he's gonna drown. Come on. Come on. Oh my gosh. Come on, you stupid thing. Alright, now he took... See, that's why I was trying to get you out of there, you stupid thing. So I wonder if I should, no, hold on. I wonder if I should change my this bridge a bit to accommodate coming out of here, because I flew out of this and I went straight into the water. This curve is too hard. Oh, yeah, let's go ahead and do that while I'm thinking about it. So, the more I look at her, the more I'm pretty convinced that this is not a natural born female, and I guess I planted sort of like the seeds of doubt in his mind, and he eventually kind of like did a front area grope on her, and then told me, like, pulled me aside and said, "This is the dude." And he was furious, and so he's like speaking to me in English, and he's like, and he's saying very, very hurtful words about gender choices and things like that. And I don't need to repeat them, but you can kind of get the idea. And I kind of sympathize, because because she was kind of dishonest, I guess. It's not like she said, "Hi, I'm a pre-op transsexual and I like you," So, and I think that in today's day and age, that's, whatever. So he was not very pleased. Let's just put it that way. So, he was kind of furious, and he started suggesting that we take this person outside and teach her a lesson. And I was just like, dude, we've been at this bar for like 3.5 hours. You've been talking to this girl for 3 hours. Do you really think that, morality aside, do you think that we wouldn't get, if something happened to this person, that we wouldn't get blamed? They would know exactly who we were, instantly. And and he's like, "No, screw it. Let's take her outside and teach her a lesson." And I was just, and I'm not a physically violent kind of guy or whatever. And I was like, dude, have you seen what a Mexican prison looks like? Let's just take what remains of our dignity and just, chalk it up as a life lesson. And he kind of thought about it, and and he was pretty drunk, and so his reaction was probably understandable considering the amount of alcohol he'd been drinking and things like that. So eventually he said, "Yeah, screw it, let's get out of here." And nothing happened to the young lady, but I did continue to see her all the time. Like all the time. But she didn't remember me. I saw her. I lived in the city for several years, so I would see her. A lot. Like every time I walked by certain bars, she would be outside, kind of flirting or trying to pick up clientele, or I don't, whatever, her activity was. It's not for me to judge or to understand. But she would always kind of, because I was, a relatively attractive foreigner, she would always kind of give me, the eye, and kind of like bat her eyelashes at me or whatever. And I'm not sure if I love this, but it's better than it was, so we'll leave it like that. I am completely out of cobblestone and things like that. I guess I could build some more. Yeah, why don't we just do that? Let's see here. Let's plop down my bed while I'm at it, because it looks like it's going to be nighttime. So, she'd always say like, "Hello," and wink wink or whatever, and I would just ignore her. And so one day I'm walking by and in a different neighborhood, and she's in front of this bar, standing outside with another, more than likely another transgender person, and she says something like, "Hello, handsome," and so I just walk up to her, and I look and I said, and I just grab her hand, and I look her right in the eye, and this is like several years after this incident, right? And I say, "Every time I see you, you look more and more beautiful." And she like gets a big smile on her face, and like the other person that's with her is like, "Ooh," like they're kind of, whatever. But I said, and this is all in Spanish, of course. And then I said, "But until you're actually a woman, I'm not at all interested." And I dropped her hand, and then her friend laughed at her, and she pouted, and she said, "Fine." And then whenever I saw her after that, she would kind of stamp her foot and turn away. So it was kind of funny. But that is my little story about what could have been a very bad situation very quickly. But that it turned out humorous after all. So, that's not too bad, I think. I probably should cut this corner here too. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. Oh, I don't have any. I was going to make some more cobblestone fence anyway, so let's go ahead and do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to make like that many. Click. Thank you. And yeah, and like I said, I'm not like a wild, and crazy partier or whatever, but so I generally stay out of those kind of places. But there was another time where I was in a place that some of the clientele were not overly fond of Americans, and a lot of that has to do with just generally how tourists tend to behave when they're in foreign countries, and and maybe some resentment. I think I can put this one right here, and that would be fine. I don't have to go that extreme. Ah, shucks. So I was in this rather rough place, and I mean, pretty much a straight up brothel. And the reason I was in there was because a Mexican friend of mine was taking me out for fun, and he just thought it would be amusing or whatever to take me out to this, like, to what he called like the real Mexico, and I was the only American there, and there were tons of it was a bar that also had like like 20 or 30 female customers, or and that's whatever. It was a brothel, pretty much. There were rooms in the back and all kinds of stuff. But we were there for drinks, and they had pool tables and stuff like that. So we weren't there for brotheling purposes, but it was kind of in amusing place. And again, being a foreigner and being sort of exotic, you could say I was getting a lot of attention from the ladies. Not all of it wanted, but it was kind of a fun place, and like I said, we were mostly playing pool and things like that, shooting pool, and So, but my friend went to the bathroom or something, and he was gone for a couple minutes. And what time is it? Okay, it's just barely noon. So let's make sure I have room for all this stuff. My friend, where did my stupid... There it is. Okay. So do I have room for... I need room for 2 more things. Okay, so we can make 2 more torches. And then we'll have room for the bed and the... he went to the bathroom, and I ordered a drink at the bar, and there was this guy there, and he was a big guy. He was like 6'5". I'm like 5'11", so I'm pretty tall for a Mexican, but he was a tall guy for a tall guy. You know what I mean? He was just very tall, and he was very tall for a Mexican, and he was pretty... I don't want to say he was fat, but he was pretty, you know, he was thick, I guess. I don't even know how to describe it. He was pretty beefy. Let's just put it that way. He looked like your typical, like, your average big guy, like a 6-foot guy that weighs 230 pounds or something like that. You know what I mean? Or 250 pounds maybe. You know, he was maybe not like muscle bound, but he was not a small guy. So, but he is very, 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 very drunk, and he says something to me, and I literally cannot understand him. Between his, I mean, my Spanish was pretty good at that point, but between his sort of drunkenness and whatnot. I wonder if I should build the bridge right here. Looks like it's actually like a good place for it. So I'm going to put these down as sort of a marker for the bridge. So, yeah, and there's the witch hut. So this is perfect. So he says something to me, and I can't really understand at all. And then he kind of gets in my face, and he says something else. And but I don't understand what he says, because he's like speaking with such a slur. But it's very obvious he's not being complimentary. And the bartender says, like, like whatever the guy's name is, Juan or whatever, he says like, Juan, calm down, and the guy turns around, and I kind of ignore him, and I'm waiting. I'm like 2 bar stools away, and there's an empty bar stool between us, and he all of a sudden I feel something on my butt, right? And then I turn around, and he stood up behind me, and he was trying to like wedge his boot like between my ass and the stool, like, I don't know, push me off the stool basically, or something, And so I turn around and I look at him, and he just, again says something that is not very understandable, but very uncomplimentary. And let's get this stuff that's dropping here, if I have room for it in my inventory, please. Yep. So the bartender kind of sees what's going on, and he just says something like, hey, he's a paying customer, just calm down, whatever, everyone has a right to be here. And so I don't, I'm not too worried about it. So maybe another 20 or 30 seconds go by, and I can feel him trying to do it again, because I'm keeping an eye on him, in the corner of my eye, and he kind of like shoves my shoulder. He basically at this point he's trying to pick a fight with me, and so I get up on my stool, and he's trying to put his shoe up on where I was sitting, and I just say, like, I get in his face, and I'm like, hey, oh, did I not lasso him? No, I did not. Oh, where's the fence post? Did I not bring the fence post? Oh, man, Peadee. What time is it? It's almost nighttime. Where's the bed? Oh, it's right here. Here's the fence post. I just forgot to leash him up. Okay. Come here, you. Don't want you getting in the water. Come on. Come on. So, he, he's being pretty aggressive, and, he's a big guy, and I'm not. I'm a computer nerd, right? I'm not a I'm not a bodybuilder or something. I don't take steroids to have huge muscles or something like that. But I've been in 1 or 2 fights in my life, and so I know enough not to fight someone that's 8 inches taller than you and very, very drunk if you can avoid it. So I was like, hey man, let me buy you a drink. And he's just like, fuck you and your drink. Excuse me, I'm sorry. He's like, F you and your drink. I was like, okay. So I just sit down and I try to ignore him. But I'm basically thinking to myself, okay, I've got this beer bottle right here on the bar top. And if he comes at me, I'll just pick that up and I'll just smash him in the face with a beer bottle, and as a last resort, because this isn't a place that has like security or anything, and so another 20 or 30 seconds go by, and sure enough, I can see him in the corner of my eye, coming up behind me again, and going in for another to stick his foot in my ass again, basically, and so when he puts I sort of jump up right when he's putting his foot on my bar stool, and I grab his ankle. And I put his foot up on the bar, which is about, like 4 feet high, or whatever, however, a standard bar height. So like maybe 50 inches or something, So basically, instead of having his foot lifted like 34 inches, it's lifted like 50 inches. So I basically just put his boot up on the bar, and I said, "Here, this is what you wanted, right? To put your foot up here. Here, let me help you." And so, but he's so drunk, and the bartender laughs when I do that, but he's so drunk that he he held still for like 15 or 20 seconds, and then he starts to fall backwards, and he stumbles backwards, falls back, and then hits his head against like a concrete support pillar and knocks himself out cold. and just at that moment, my friend comes out of the bathroom, and he's like, oh, what the hell did you... He sees this guy, basically me put this guy's foot up on the bar, and then sees the guy like fall over, and he's like, what the hell did you do? And he was trying to pick a fight with me, and he wanted to put his shoe up my ass, so I put his foot on the bar, and then like the guy's friends come over, and the guy's just like, shaking his head, trying to clear his head or whatever, And he's like, oh, we need to get the F out of here. So we just sort of went out. And the bartender is like, there was a side door, and he's like, here, you can go out of this door right here. Because he had seen that the guy had been harassing me for, several minutes and wasn't taking no for an answer. And he basically just helped us leave. So that was my one and only bar fight in Mexico. But so that's that. I don't know. I mean, I'm not super proud of it. I mean, it's kind of an interesting experience, I suppose, but just goes to show you what you have to be very respectful and careful when you're in Mexico, because you never know. A lot of people bear a lot of resentment because they literally think that, and and some of us act this way. They think that we're all millionaires and that have no respect for them, and so they kind of have sort of reverse discrimination, you could say, and have no respect for us. I mean, I've literally, become friends with Mexicans that said, "Oh, I didn't know, gringos could be this nice," and part of it is like, in like the, it's sort of the ugly American, not so much a stereotype, Americans tend to be very culturally insensitive, and they don't have a lot of experience with foreign cultures, and often don't speak foreign languages, or have any, barely any experience with them, and tend to be rude and don't follow customs of other countries. And to be fair, if you're not prepared for, like a foreign culture, like if you haven't bothered to do any research and things like that, it can seem very frustrating when you deal with, say, a shopkeeper, a shop clerk. Like you go to a store and you say, "Oh, do you have any AA batteries?" And they say, "Oh no, we don't have any of those." And then you look behind them and there's a whole shelf of AA batteries, and you say, "Oh, aren't these AA batteries here?" And they go, "Oh yeah, here they are." And that might be because the clerk was embarrassed that they didn't understand what you asked for because of your accent, and to avoid being embarrassing you for your accent, or embarrassing themselves for saying they couldn't understand you, they just say they don't have it. And I know that sounds weird, but that's happened to me a lot of times. It's just one of those. It's like a cultural thing, and one of the like a common expression, like a courteous expression, like you'll see a sign that says like if, let's say you're in a beach resort like Acapulco or something like that, you might see a sign that says in a place near the beach, por favor, dejarnos evitar la pena de no servir personas sin zapatos. And it'll say, please save us the embarrassment of not serving people who are not wearing shoes. And like in the States, what would it say? It would say, no shirt, no shoes, no service, right? But okay. time to use the chest again. But in Mexico, because of the way the culture is and things like that, they literally say, "Please save us the embarrassment of having to ask you to leave if you're not wearing shoes," you know. And I just think that's an interesting contrast. And you know, maybe we could learn something from Mexican culture in that respect, you know. But generally speaking, as someone that owned a business in Mexico for a while, American tourists can be extremely loud and rude, and especially if they don't speak the language. A lot of times, especially with older people, it seems like they just thought that like speaking louder would help them get their point across when they didn't. You know, they weren't making any point that was sensible, and to you know, that the person could understand in English. You know, so it's like, where's the train station? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't understand you. Where's the train station? I'm sorry, I don't understand. Train? Do you understand? Train? Train? You know, that's pretty much like a verbatim incident that you can see, you know, from you know, people that are just not culturally prepared to be in a foreign country, you know. And I'm not saying that you should be fluent in the language before you visit or whatever, but you know, for $9 or $10, you can get a travel phrase book that will show you how to say "Dónde está la estación del tren?" You know what I mean? Or whatever, you know. So I just, if you are lucky enough to visit a foreign country, try to understand that not all cultures respond the way an American place does, and you know, like they're not Americans, and there is a difference between cultures, and something that would be considered completely normal in the U.S. Might be. Oh wow! Look at that. Oh wow! I've been here. Or no, is that? No, I have not been here. This is unlit. Oh well. Oh, we better get into the bed. Well, you know. So, yeah, that's it. I think that's enough for today. We made another bridge, and made some more progress. We've got a cavern to explore, so we'll save that for next time. Thanks for watching. Peadee out.